Prep should be a shift of gears.
Yes.
Like, as in, like, 4th to 5th
100%.
kind of, it shouldn't be a 1st to 6th kind of thing. Like,
Not compounds.
well,
So we're going from test-based to trend?
Look, depending on what federation. But yeah, it shouldn't be, like, we've talked about this in the past. They're like, people are like, oh, I'm in prep and they want like the whole fucking thing to change.
Yeah.
It's like literally the only things that should change are your calories, maybe your protein, and your activity. Really,
100%.
like from today till tomorrow, let's say we enter prep officially, that's it. You have everything else on lock. You've got your nutrition habits on lock, your protein, your protein spacing, your eating frequency, your lifestyle, your rest, your training days, all of that shit. Like, you shouldn't have to like go through a period to plan all that.
No, I agree.
Like, as in, like last week to do it this week. It's like that should be manifested over a period of time.
100%.
And I think there's people that can gain that faster. And I think that, setting people up for certain things is a needs-based, kind of situation where it's like, cool, have you ever been in the deficit before? No. All right, let's see what that feels like. There's people, athletic background, probably have a little bit of muscle mass. Cool. Fucking whatever. But it's like, don't expect to change everything overnight. And, I want to compete in the show in like 20 weeks. And it's like, just go and speak to a coach at like 21 weeks out.
Exactly.
It's where that stupid definition of bodybuilding of like, you're not a bodybuilder if you don't compete. It's like, why?
No,
the behaviors are exactly the
best
fucking
because
same.
everyone can do it.
Exactly.
It's the people's hobby, sport, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
And those behaviors are the same. Should be the same, whether you're on stage or not, because then to get on stage, it's the like,
you need to
I think
the be do have model. Like,
the thing that concerns me psychologically most of the time is when I see people use an actual comp, not
as a vehicle for the goal.
As a vehicle for the experience. I'm sick of, and don't get me wrong, because I have this conversation, people go back and forth with me on it. Like, there are, even amongst the population of competitors, I argue every time that there is different degrees of population amongst that umbrella of population.
Of course.
So you would call them subsets of the data, right?
Yeah.
So we've got in amongst that single data pool of competitor, you would have like first timers testing the waters, like, I just want to see if I can get lean, or my coach put me through a 30-day challenge.
Enjoy it.
Or just if I enjoy the process. Okay, cool. So that's you there. Then you've got like, this is like maybe my first or second time into a cut. I've done an off season, or I've done a bit of a growth block, feeling a bit better about myself. Like, cool, let's go again. That's you there. Then you start getting towards the season guys who are like, I fucking love this shit. Like, and then even from that, you go, okay, I love this shit plus drugs.
And it's like, I love this shit, and I possibly want to make something of it.
And
I have a time frame to try and make this happen.
And the raw talent.
And the actual, the base level of necessity to get somewhere. Even if it's just going from like, your first show to getting to a point where you're winning some state titles, stuff like that. Like, for me to even tie back to my prep season B and why I think the reward was so good is that I said on the video, like, so we started doing some content recording. So we've got a guy now that we work with for like consistent monthly content to put out. In the video we talked about it, I was like, I can look back 2 years, and I remember I sat down at the library at the university when I first started uni, and I wrote down my next preps goals, and I could literally, because there was 2 COVID breaks in there, big C word, there was every single metric that I had written, I could go back and review 2.5 years ago. It was on my computer, and I ticked every single one of them off except win. And I can literally see those. I'll be at this percentage. I'll be sub this millimeters. I'll be at this sort of weight category. I'll be at this level of like supplementation. Things you can't control there are like, okay, calories, like how low do your food have to go to actually get the response, all that sort of shit. Can't really control that. But, my sleep will be intact. My averages will be like this. My rate of loss will be something like this. I literally ticked all those off to the point where I was like, the only thing left to do is win, and that's outside my control. But that was also me ticking those things off over that 2.5 years. So like to me, it was like that just became engaging in prep. It was like, all right, cool. So now I just go from the training every day that I was doing, the waking up at this time that I was doing, the client work that I was doing, the business stuff, training footage, whatever I was doing, that just now goes more specific and more enhanced, I guess, or more intense, but it's not different. It's not a drastic shift. Like you said, it's not a change of everything. Whereas a lot of the time I'm seeing people use it to go, so we'll look at those subsets again, and we go like the first timer. They'll go, I've never trained before, or like, that looks really cool. I've seen this girl or that influencer or this person share the back end, like they're on stage with the makeup on, they've got the wings and the cool bikini and all that sort of stuff. Sick. I want that. Okay, I'm going to do that in 20 weeks. I've never done any of this before. This will be my first experience. The problem I find there is that then it's not mapped out amongst the clients and amongst like as a coach that you can't go there expecting to win.
No, of course.
If you're happy with it just being your experience, cool. Would I say that should be your first experience? No. Are you happy with just showing up? Okay, good for you. But the problem is we get this like people don't like being told the truth, right? Like people just in this day and age, if I were to walk up to say like as a female consult or something, or even a male consult, like you are too fat. We need to go through some aggressive phases. I need to find out how you respond. Are you naturally this high in body fat? Is your estrogen too high? What's your testosterone levels like naturally? Do you have reasons why you look like this? Or have you just not been tracking food or training much or moving, whatever? You're too fat to compete. Now, if we say that and someone gets butthurt, that's like we're the worst people in the world.
Yeah, the sport's not for you, but
exactly, we're telling the truth.
Yeah. And that what you just said, all those the beginner people, they're the ones that come out the other side of it and like bodybuilding shit.
Yes, exactly right.
My brain, but no one should ever do it. It's like no, you just
you pick something. You pick something you shouldn't ever.
Exactly right, and that to me is where
drive the go-kart before you get in the F1 car.
Exactly right. Like it's this weird idea. Like I've played. I would say a decent level of rugby league, right? Like I played a pretty decent level of rugby league. I would not even at that level. Like I played schoolboys at Suncorp Stadium. I would not then go say I should just start playing NRL. That stepping stone in other sports is so different. You go through the stages of progression where you're like, my skill set matches this environment. Now I can do it.
And because the competition pool's so small, there aren't tiers.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Yeah, but the barrier to entry that's a controlled barrier to entry. With bodybuilding, it's not.
It's
limited. So then it's on the onus of the coach for the people like you and I who are willing to tell people.
We run the risk though of losing the client,
of course,
because then there is a coach who will go, give you all these drugs.
That's happened in the past already. It's just like this isn't gonna. There's another show like in 6-12 months. Like we can do that. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And it's like...
But you have to be willing to lose them in order to keep ethicalness, right? Like,
and I've been coaching for a long time, and so have you, and you will continue to coach for a long time. It's like, I don't want to work with people that have that stress either.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
That emotional sort of attachment that you have to a metric inside your sport is really... Like, you have to... And I've talked about Jace a lot in the past. Like, there's not a lot of people I know inside our circle that bodybuilding... Even when you were taking it more seriously, it was like, this is your sport. Like, there's no, like, wake up in the morning and be sad because I'm fluffy. Like, and that's why I put my hands up. That's why I moved away from body composition. It was like, every day I got up, I'm not big enough, I'm not lean enough, I'm not big enough, I'm not lean enough. And then I touched the barbell and I was like, this goes up every single week, whether I'm sad or not. I'm going to go do powerlifting.
In fact, when I'm sadder, it goes up better.
It's like, I'm going to go pursue that. But most people don't have that. And a metric of bodybuilding is your fat, your muscle. So it's like, if I was to say to you, like, hey, you can't play in the midfield. I'm talking AFL terms. Sorry, wrong state. But like, you can't play in the midfield because you're not fit enough. No one goes, oh, you don't. That's not fair. It's like, no, you're not fucking fit enough.
It's a sport for everybody.
It's like, you're running off the bench. I'm sorry.
100%.
Whereas, in bodybuilding, it's like, because we take this as emotional. It's like, no, that's a metric of the sport and you don't have it.
And this, I think, is where the issue is with the honesty side that I try to give my clients even now is you get the fluff, right? Like, you get, like, fluffed up, blown smoke. Like, let's say, because, like, I remember me and Dolt sat down and worked out one day because I was actually having a bad time with, like, do I have what it takes? Am I going to be in this for long term? Like, what's the percentage sort of thing? If you're a genuine competitive bodybuilder, right? You are, I think it works out to be, if we break down the metrics, it's like 1% of the population globally is into 5 to 6 plus days a week, hypertrophy training to a progressive metric, tracking data and tangibles, right? Then from there, then there's the next 1% of that actually want to compete on stage. Then of that, there's like 1% who actually go on to do more than 2 or 3 seasons is the average dropout. Then from there, it's like, okay, so who's winning? So like all these metrics, to even get into a place, you're now suddenly in the 0.001% of a population.
And then to be a pro is like
exactly
wild.
So like to be a bodybuilder at your local gym,
Fed dependent.
Is
sorry.
Stab.
To be a local gym bodybuilder is quite rare. Though when we all link up at a comp or something like that, everyone's a bodybuilder. But in isolation at different gyms, it's quite unique to have genuine bodybuilders that compete, whether it be bikini girls or physique athletes or fitness or men's whatever. to be like at a gym, it's generally pretty unique. You might have 5-10 tops versus the 2,000 members.
Yeah.
And from there, you start to get to a point where you're like, okay, so you're being fluffed up, right? Like you're being fluffed by your mum or your dad, your grandma, like, oh, you're the leanest person I've ever seen. You look great. Why aren't you on stage yet?
Yeah.
And so you get this in your head. You're like, oh, everyone on the appearance side of things is telling me I'm great because no one's actually stopped and sat down and gone, hey, this is a critically reflective, objective, subjective sport. You're going to be exposed to genuine feedback about how you look versus the person next to you. All we get is, you look amazing. You're so good. Like, you go, girl. This is fucking awesome. You look so good. Your glutes are coming in because you're wearing scrunch bums that pull up right up, and it's actually overemphasizing what you actually have. And then we get on stage, and you lose. Because no one sat down and gone, hey, we have 3 types of goals when it comes to goal setting. You have process goals, you have performance goals, you have outcome goals. You've dictated your entire existence of this prep on the outcome goal. You can't control the outcome goal though. So why have you not been preempted with let's get the processes and let's get the performances? And that performances mean daily in the gym, right? If you are ticking those things off, the outcome's irrelevant. You have no control.
It takes care of itself.
Exactly right.
And that's when I say like it becomes a sport. That's it. It's like
it is everything.
In field sport, you go to training twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever, and then you play your game, and then like that's...
It's how you recover, it's what you eat, it's what you do.
You don't decide... You have an agreement within your team, even in team sport, right? You have an agreement inside your team as how you're supposed to play, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to set up structures, strategies, all those things. If you go out and execute that and lose, it's like... You can't control how good the other team is.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. Bodybuilding, powerlifting's the same. I use this story all the time because it makes me feel better about myself. But 2 weeks out from my last powerlifting meet, arguably Australia's best powerlifter right now decided to enter my competition. Guess who got knocked off the podium? This guy. It's like fucking showed up and totaled like 920. It's like, okay, cool. And I've like trained side by side with him. You don't have the choice of that outcome, which I think traps so many people. And then to add to everything you just said, like I remember, because I'm a fucking dinosaur, training in the gym, health clubs, like you had 1, 2 handful of bodybuilders. And so even then you were like,
mainstream sport.
So everything you just explained is like this, when I'm in the environment, there's lots of people. Now you've got Instagram and TikTok. And it's like everyone competes.
Everyone can compete.
Everyone has stacked glutes and tiny little waists and crazy...
If you take the angle right.
Yeah, exactly. In the right lighting, in the right tights, the right time of day with a pump. Like, I can do that.
I think that's also the detriment too, right? Though, because there's like, they put themselves on, like, they go from these average gym goers and then they're like, I'm going to do a prep or I'm going to do a comp. And then they're constantly posting that journey all the time. So when they don't win, they need to find a reason. They feel embarrassed because they've overhyped themselves to their followers. They've gotten all this clout and everything like that. So instead of keeping that process internally for something that they actually want to do for themselves, the minute they don't get that win, it's like this emotional embarrassment.
You can't bodybuild to win.
They've then just got to justify to be like, oh, well, like there wasn't fair rankings, or like the feedback was shit, or like bodybuilding's damaged my life and now I've got an eating disorder. Like there's all these things that come from it as excuses.
If you have a low self-value or self-worth on top of that,
you can't do it.
It's like now I have this value assigned to this thing, and I didn't fucking make prep. Not alone didn't win. Didn't make it because it got too hard. Like,
how do you justify that then?
I've never come up with a story about why it didn't happen, or I was sick here and this, therefore this, and I fell through here, and like the thing that gets me, that I get so excited about, is when I genuinely see someone passionate about succeeding, but in life alongside it. So similar to you guys, you have a very similar process where I like to see other metrics of their life improve alongside our training. If I genuinely see that you're progressing in like study, business, education, your relationships, your friendship circles, your finances, and training's going up with it, then I know we're all doing the right job, because it means that you're not sacrificing those things just to have this. Because a nice placing physique means shit when it's not monetized and you're just...
it doesn't really kind of get a lot of reward outside of intrinsic...
Exactly. So you have to be making sure that everything encompasses progression forward. And so that for us is a big part of... So when I see someone come on, they're like, yep, I want to do this, this, and this, and prep is going to like facilitate that, or prep's going to allow that to happen, or my life will allow prep to take place, and we can tweak things and work on things mentally and stuff like that along the way, because every prep client is going to have mental breakdowns or like little hiccups. Like, I had them. And that to me is like, I literally study this shit, and I'm like, there's points in time where I'm like looking at Bumstead being like, fuck. But then also I'm also pulling myself in and going like...
everybody.
And I'm just like, at that point though, I'm able to pull myself in and go, okay, but am I at Bumstead's level? Did Bumstead have my back injury? Did Bumstead have this? So how am I progressing against myself, or how am I progressing against someone else in my pool? All those sort of things then I can kind of control, and clients will have that. But that for me is like when I get someone that excited about it and they're genuinely passionate about progression over a period of time, I'm like, yeah, you're ready. Yeah. Like you can actually handle this. You're like, win or lose, we'll go in with this knowing like, okay, so, you know, how do we progress next time? What's going to be the feedback? What are the markers here? Are we going in to win this one, or are we going in to see what is required to win next time?
Yep.
Because it, like you're almost like you're moving those chess pieces like individually as each prep comes along. Okay, so we've moved on this, we worked on this, we tweaked this, we made this strategy, we tried this. The judges like the feedback. Everything was good. The only thing was you need more size. Okay, size comes with time.
Effort.
You've got like you have to remember that, you know, on a stage, you could have guys who've been doing this for 15 years waiting for their time.
Yeah. You can't control who stands next to you, man.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter.
So from that, if you're basing your entire worth or value, which a lot of the newbies are, on the outcome, instead of just recognizing that the process and performance orientation, you're setting yourself up to be fucked post-show. And then you're going to blame bodybuilding, and then it's this neuroticism and this problem and this track can cause this, and I now have these eating disorders. Strangely enough, what we see is that you still track your budget. You're also still tracking these things. You don't have neuroticisms elsewhere, just here. Is it potentially because of bodybuilding, or you and the expectations you went in with, and that you didn't have the ownership and accountability to say, actually, I went in with the wrong perspective. Because a lot of the time, when I have those clients in that position that are like they're doing it for the right reasons, they're fucking thriving. Like they are genuinely happy with life progressions. They've got big plans. They've got big goals. They've got 3-5 year plans. Like we've sat down and gone, okay, this is what we want to see you do over 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Like, let's see how that looks and feels and blah, blah, blah. They take bodybuilding on the perspective that it's life improving. Because it's literally the embodiment of everything you need to succeed. Delayed gratification, long-term perspective, self-worth and self-value internally, because you know it can't come from extrinsic factors. You have internalized motivation, where the ones that do well are generally intrinsically enhanced, or generally they're doing it for the intrinsic reasons. External is nice, but it's not the driving factor. They've got a life that sustains the goal they have, which is, you know, sleep optimization, lifestyle factors. They've got their friendship circles, no boundaries, and they have respect and you know, that sort of things established. So when they get up there, it's life building. The ones that I see walking away saying bodybuilding shit didn't have the life progress set up.
It becomes an outcome of like all of their daily habits.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden, like you said, now we've switched gears and gone from first gear to fifth, and you're wondering why your whole life just fucked itself. Because you haven't got, you know, your friends set up, you haven't got the boundaries in place, you haven't got the parents are aware of your food habits or your meal plan, you know, you haven't got work aware of what's going on, you know, all these things where your friends are still pushing you to come out and drink and get drunk, and you're like, that's because you didn't set this up over time to then handle prepping. The ones that I succeed, and the long-term athletes, even if they're gym bros or like the bro science guys or whatever, they're doing all those things already. Those things are all in place, and they're just now moving the piece forward. And that to me is like the big difference I'm seeing, and why I actually don't encourage prep straight away, or like as many people that are prepping, like you're seeing, especially coming through the natty federations, where it's just like, oh, I did a 30-day cut, prep. I've done this 6-week challenge, prep.
Do you think the term needs to change?